Instagram teen accounts have automatic protections for what teens see and who can contact them, plus time management tools. And Instagram will continue adding built-in safety features to help create age-appropriate experiences. Learn more about teen accounts and Instagram's ongoing work to protect teens online at instagram.com/teen accounts.
Welcome back to Crime Besties to another really big episode today.
It's a big one today. I know, but I have enjoyed researching it. So
me too.
And, yeah,
it's a fascinating case in so many aspects, and
definitely.
Yeah, we were just talking before we hit record that both of us have more notes than we've probably had in a long time for an episode. So strap in.
Yeah, I feel like this is one that I didn't know about when it happened, which weirdly enough, I feel like I must have been living under a rock again. Sometimes that happens. But I know I've always known about this case, but I didn't know all the details until I've done this research this week, really. So This has all been a bit like, oh, now so many things other make sense of like what I've known about it. Have all dots have connected this week that I'm like, wow,
piecing
amazing.
everything together. Yeah, it's amazing. It is absolutely. It's a crazy story.
Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting. But before we get into today's episode, let me know how your week has been. What have you been up to?
Well, I know. As you said that, I'm like, oh my God, there is something I need to like say to everyone. I need to thank, and I'm gonna have to find out who it was now. This is really gonna bug me, because I need to thank the amazing listener who gave me the best advice last week in our.
Was this cricket-related advice?
Cricket-related advice.
I did see that. I think I feel like, where was it?
Was it on Spotify itself, I think?
Because I remember replying to it going, this is actual genius.
Well, I read it going, I've never heard this before, and if this works, wow. But like I was still trepidatious going into it, kind of going, really?
So tell me.
Oh my God. So Wednesday night, I didn't have my kids at home, and I'm like, perfect time for me to just give it a try calmly and, see what happens. So the thing was that I was advised was to stick the freaking crickets in the fridge because they, in the cold, go into like a dormant stage of like sleep.
Just love this.
So I was like, how long do I leave them in? And like, so she'd said like an hour or something like that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, which I was like, oh, so we'll see, half an hour. Like, if that's enough.
Do you have enough patience to wait an hour?
I know.
Not.
So it was Jenkins.aj.
Okay.
So thank you. So so they do I pull them out of the fridge and I'm like, oh my God, opening the lid.
So hold on, you put the entire container
Yep.
in the fridge, so they're all dopey as fuck when you get them out.
Yeah. So I open it kind of going, I don't know, are they going to leap out at me? And I'm carefully opening the lid, going, I'm like, oh my God, no, you can just open the lid. And they all look dead. Like it's so weird. They're like laying there.
Am I going to have to go and get more crickets now?
I know. A few of them are like, the legs are kind of twitching. And so I'm like, okay, so they're not dead. But I was able to just like pluck them out with my tweezer things and the tongs that you use and like pluck them out into the other container and shake that and give it a bit of a whip around and get the dust on them. And then I just sat the container for like 5-10 minutes and they all started waking up and like jumping back around, which I then just let them loose in the enclosure. And
that's amazing.
My boys watched me do it last night. I said to them, you watch me do this tonight and then it is all on you.
Yeah,
you can do this
and
now.
You won't be picking crickets out of your lounge room for the next however long marsh frogs live for. How long do marsh frogs live?
I don't know. I feel like a long time.
Especially when they're really well cared for.
Yeah. Well, I said to the boys last night, this has actually made me like the frogs more. Like I can actually deal with them now because it was always the crickets. I said that to Mason because Mason's so obsessed with frogs. They are life to him. Mm-hmm. And so when he said to me that's what he wanted for his birthday, the only real thing that was really making me hesitate was the fact that fucking dealing with crickets. But this has actually made it, okay, this is fine.
A non-issue.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Jenkins.
Thank you, Jenkins. Oh my God. I know they were blown away last night, the boys. They just found it the best thing ever.
That's so good.
Yeah, so thank you. Put him in the fridge.
How good is that? I love that our community is coming together and helping us out with some life advice.
So many tips. But no, she saved my sanity, I swear to God, because I was so sick. I was actually getting the itches like throughout the day, kind of going, I feel like there's crickets on me.
Oh.
Like, you know, like it was bad. So thank you.
It's like when you hear about like people having lice or fleas or something and it just makes you itchy and you're like, oh. Yeah, I get it.
It had been like, because I was sitting watching TV, because that's when we'd done it one night and the crickets had jumped out everywhere, and I jumped on 4 more of them. I collected them, and I'm like, I was sitting there watching TV the other night on my own, kind of going, did I see something move? Did I see something move?
Oh,
like you feel like you're seeing things, which I was certain I'd got them all.
Somewhat certain.
Somewhat.
Not 100% certain.
No, it's still in the back of the mind of like, you know, are they still here? Are they still around?
Oh, I love it.
Oh, God.
Love it. So good.
So thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. It's good because these stories are good because it's not me chasing crickets around my house.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's leave it at that.
Yeah. But, yeah.
I went to school assembly this morning because my youngest is their student voice team captain for his class. He was so excited this morning. He woke up early. He was dressed by like 10 past, not even dressed, fully ready to go to school by 10 past 7. It's like, Mum, what jobs do you want me to do? Because that's what SVT captains do. They do all the jobs.
Oh, they do the cooking and the
I was like,
vacuuming.
Well, let's start taking all the bins out. So empty all the bins.
Yes.
So he did that. I don't think he quite got to the recycling. I don't know if anyway. I will be chatting to him about that later.
Mm-hmm.
But then this morning when he got his badge, he was like, Mum, it's so much bigger than I thought it was, and I just love it.
Oh my God! Oh, I love it.
Cute.
Oh, well, Brody was very excited for him getting that today.
It's so gorgeous. They really love it. It's
just
so gorgeous.
Beautiful.
So cute. I love the school assemblies and just the kids because the students run them for the most part at our school, and God, I just love it. It was great.
Have a bit of a sing along to the school song, did you?
Of course. Do all the moves, of course. So that was a highlight of my week because he was just so excited.
Oh, it's the best.
Yeah.
Love it. Oh,
yeah.
So excited.
So good. And we've got like an exciting weekend coming up, don't we?
We do.
We've got we're celebrating a friend's birthday tomorrow night, which will be amazing, which will be so good.
Very nice. We get to go out for a nice bit of food and wine.
Yeah, cocktails, wine, whatever floats our boat. Can't wait.
Oh my God, that sentence, whatever we want to do.
It's going to be lovely.
We've been given strict instructions on Sunday morning that our friend is being taken care of, that she can be as drunk as she likes.
Love that. Watch out.
I don't know if he really meant those words.
If you're in our area on Saturday night and you see us out and about,
you'll hear us.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Oh, God, the voices that carry.
We're so loud.
Yeah, the other day I was actually in the car and, you know, does your podcast player, like on your phone, if you plug your phone in, it just plays the next episode?
Plays as soon as I get in the car.
Yeah. So the other day, get in the car and the first thing that came on was one of our episodes. And and obviously we'd been listening to music or something in previous time we were in the car because it was so loud. And I'm like, oh my God, that's horrible. Like that grating sound. I'm like, oh, turn it off. Oh God. Anyway.
Well, it always because it throws me because I only ever listen to podcasts at minimum 1.5.
Yeah.
And so it makes us sound even worse somehow.
Yeah. No, it does. It really does. I listen usually on 1.2. I can't listen at 1. To anything, to any
I now
podcast,
can't. I cannot listen to anything else.
It doesn't get there quick
I need it fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm usually a 2, to be really honest. Yeah. I usually listen to things on a 2.
Okay.
But 1.5 is my standard. I leave it at, and then I'm like, oh, how long can I stand this? And then I usually up it.
Yep.
I don't know what it is, but yeah. So but I get in the car and that same thing will happen, and it's like, oh my God, like it's our voices and I have to turn it onto something else. Like I can't.
Yeah, I can't.
I don't know how you guys do it.
Best comment we've ever had. Anyway, should we get into today's episode?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we have got a lot to get through.
There's a lot to get through.
Let's jump right in.
I think this will be...
Peter will be so happy he'll barely left the station.
Just really quickly, actually, speaking of Peter.
We can't help it.
No, so during the week, he's like, can you do me a favour? And can you do an episode that's like not bad, not horrible?
Oh, like, as in like not
not about murder and children and
not like as in that we're bad at doing this.
No. He thinks we're really good at doing what we do. He's not wrong. But he's like, can you do like another Ashley Madison or something?
Oh, yeah.
He's like, I think you need a light one. But I was like, okay, well, tell us what case to do because I actually don't know. So does anyone have any lighter suggestions?
This one is awful. I'm not like the one I'm about to do.
I
but
feel
at
like
least
this is going to get Peter because of the things that happened while...
But at least there is the ending is, relatively positive. So
definitely. Maybe. Peter, let's hope. Let us know if this is enough. If not, people, can you come up with your suggestions of like a slightly lighter case or a little more tongue-in-cheek maybe?
Maybe he just needs to be a Patreon because we don't get quite so gruesome there.
That's actually very true.
Don't know, Pete. Maybe you need to be a Patreon.
Put your money where your mouth is. All right, let's get into today's case. So today we are discussing the kidnapping of ElizabethSmart.
Mm-hmm.
She is, she's come out the other end. There's a Netflix documentary that came out this year in 2026, and it kind of goes back and explores exactly what happened to her, but then gives a lot more context around what her life has been since the kidnapping, because there was a period of time there where I guess she did stay silent in that she wasn't doing as many press things. She was really focusing on her foundation and all of those kinds of things. And she's also became a mum, so she obviously had a lot going on. I found watching that documentary really engaging. I thought it was very well done. I loved the fact that it was an hour and a half. It didn't go for fucking 15 episodes that it didn't need.
Yep.
It didn't go for 3 hours like some movies and stuff, which drives me batty. When something that is 3 hours could have been done in an hour and a half. I just felt like it was very well done.
There's no need for a 3-part series sometimes. Which,
that's it.
In some ways I kind of go, this could, like this, as we've said, this is a big one. There's so much in it. But they told the story really well in that time frame with lots of detail, but at the same time, it was concise. It was concise. Yeah.
And all the relevant stuff was said in there.
Yes.
So Elizabeth was part of the Smart family, obviously. So she had her mum, Lois, and her dad, Ed, or Edward, Smart, and they lived in Salt Lake City in Utah. Now, we've spoken about Salt Lake City a lot on this podcast because we bloody love The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City and Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
But also just Salt Lake City. I am intrigued by Salt Lake City for so many reasons. Yeah. Utah probably in general, I guess, maybe. But it's just so picturesque and beautiful.
It's
and
beautiful.
The life, I don't know.
It's incredibly affluent.
Yes.
I think there are parts of Salt Lake City that are slightly less so, but in general, it's a very affluent area.
Yeah.
More than 50% of people who live in Salt Lake City are members of the Church of Latter-day Saints, so they're Mormons. And that, I guess, really puts instead the tone and the vibe of the city.
Yeah.
And the Smart family were Mormons. They were members of the church and they were devout.
Yes.
When I say that, they adhered to all of the Mormon traditions, and like when you watch Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, they're not necessarily adhering to all these things, but I'm talking about, they don't drink coffee, there's no caffeine, there's no drugs, there's no alcohol. No alcohol. They go to church. They're really committed to their faith and to the teachings of the church. And I think a lot of what comes through this case can be explained by the fact that the family was so devout.
Yeah. Yep.
So basically, Ed was a real estate broker. He had 2 businesses, of which he was the only employee of both of these businesses that he owned. So one was a real estate brokerage and the other one was a mortgage broker, I believe.
Right.
And they were very, very well off. Ed's businesses were doing very well. However, he had made a very poor real estate investment and he'd lost a significant amount of money about a year before Elizabeth was kidnapped.
Yeah.
And what that meant was that the family they weren't destitute by any stretch of the imagination, but they did decide to sell their house in order to repay some of that debt, and also because, Lois says she actually wanted a much simpler life. The house they lived in was a 7-bedroom. Absolutely.
Huge.
It had a racquetball court inside.
Oh,
Indoor
wow.
racquetball court.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, I'm telling you, massive, massive home. And
Yeah.
it's beautiful. Like,
I mean, they had 5 kids, but
Six.
Six.
Didn't they?
Five. She was, yeah.
No, shit. They had Charles, Andrew, William, Edward, and then Mary Catherine and Elizabeth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
So they had 6 kids, 4 boys and 2 girls.
oh gosh. Yeah. Okay. I know. Maybe she was one, and maybe she had 5 siblings. That's more.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yep. That's
Maybe what if? Yeah.
So basically, and Lois was a stay-at-home mum and did everything that needed to be done with her 6 children.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, she was a really, really dedicated mum. Sorry, I was talking about the real estate investment. So Lois says that she also wanted to downsize because the house was really huge. It was a lot to maintain, and they actually wanted to move to a cabin in the woods somewhere. When I say cabin, I think it was very nice.
Yeah. Right.
But it was a much simpler way to live, I think.
Yeah,
And
okay.
Their kids were growing up, and I think they just wanted a little more like close family time.
Okay.
And that was sort of the impetus for them to get their house ready to be put on the market.
Right.
So Ed and Lois were hiring contractors. They would hire people. This was something that was fairly common, I believe, but there was a spot that you could go to where people who were kind of looking for work, I'm thinking of it as a 1990s Airtasker, but not online.
Not online,
You know, people wanting work for the day would go to this particular street or particular spot, and anyone who needed a job would go and be like, hey, I'll pay you $40 today if you come and rake up all my leaves and, I don't know, do whatever needed to be done around the house.
Yes.
And so at that they had done that. Ed and Lois had actually done that where
they did it like a lot. That was something they were charitable people in that way, I guess, in that they preferred to give someone a leg up, you know, and give someone a bit of a job like that rather than go and find someone who's got plenty of work on already or
Yeah, and I mean, I guess that plays into their faith as well. That they wanted to help other people.
That's right.
So they were getting their house essentially ready for sale, but even in doing so, the house was on the market and they did have potential buyers coming throughout this time as well. Even though there were, you know, small renovations still taking place to get the house really ready.
Yeah.
The real estate agents, if they had anyone who was kind of interested in a 7-bedroom home, they could actually be brought them through. So when you're thinking about the house in this context, there were a lot of people unknown to the family potentially.
Yeah.
Engaging within the home.
Yeah, coming through that home. And yeah.
With legitimate reason to be there. So we come to the 5th of June in 2002 and Elizabeth was 14 years old at the time. She was lying in bed. So she and her sister, Mary Catherine, shared a bed and a bedroom and an actual bed as well, double bed. And they were asleep. Apparently, according to Elizabeth, she'd been reading a story to Mary Catherine that night. Mary Catherine, I think, was 6 years or 5 years her junior.
She was 9.
Yeah, okay. And so Elizabeth had been reading her story. They just seem like such lovely siblings.
Oh, yes.
Just beautiful.
Yeah.
I imagine if I ever had a sister, that's exactly how I would want my relationship with my sister to be.
Yeah.
But basically, in the middle of the night, we know it was probably somewhere around 2:00 in the morning. A man presses a knife to Elizabeth's throat and basically says to her, if you make a sound, I will kill you. Mm-hmm. Now, Mary Catherine pretends to be asleep. I think she says she was paralyzed in terror.
Yeah.
And apparently this man allows Elizabeth to put some shoes on. Elizabeth went to put slippers on, but he's like, no, those shoes, meaning like her runners, basically. So, I mean, that
interesting.
says something, doesn't it, about what's then to come. Mary Catherine is, as I said, is paralyzed with fear, but also she doesn't know what to do. She's 9 years of age. She almost thinks she's dreaming or it's a nightmare. she waits. So there's a grandfather clock upstairs where all of the bedrooms are, and she remembers hearing it chime twice.
Yeah.
So at least 2 hours, if not longer, have passed, and she finally plucks up the courage to run down the hallway and go to her mum and dad's room.
Yeah.
Ed says that when Mary Katherine wakes them up, it is 3:58 a.m. on his clock, on his digital clock next to his bed.
Yes.
And they are immediately, he's like, oh no, she's had a bad dream. They go to the girl's bedroom and, of course, Elizabeth isn't there. They then rush around, have a look in the house, and with that, Ed rings 911 at 4:01 a.m. Now, I can't even imagine the panic that would set in to wake up and not have one of your children there.
Absolutely.
Immediately, the police are on this. They arrive as very, very quickly. Detectives are called in very, very quickly.
Yes.
And even the children, what are they called? Like the children's crime people are called in, and they're all at the house before 5 a.m.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So it's a very quickly enacted thing. Things like this don't happen in Salt Lake City. It's, as we said, because it's a predominantly Mormon community, people are nice. It's safe. There are, it's a very family-oriented community. And just the night before Elizabeth went missing, she and Mary Katherine had gone for a run down to the local park, the local running track. And Lois and Ed felt more than comfortable to let them do that. They did that all the time with a 9 and a 14-year-old I can understand, but even have the 9-year-old in tow,
well.
it wasn't even an issue.
No.
So
when they did when they were looking for Elizabeth, what they did find was that, and what triggered them to go, this is not good, was that when they walked into the kitchen, they saw that the wire window, the fly wire of the window in the kitchen had been slashed so that it was able to be moved open. That window, Lois had been at the kitchen. She'd cooked dinner that night and had burnt some of it, so had opened that kitchen window to let some of the smell out, kind of thing. So she knew that she had left that window open, but then to see it slashed was the trigger of whoa, when someone's taken it. Which on the other side of that, which she wouldn't have been able to see from where she was, but there was a chair that was put up against that window as well, sort of indicating someone being able to climb up and climb in through that window and maybe out again via that way. So that was sort of when they realised that she was gone and gone.
Oh my God, I can't even imagine.
Yeah,
that.
no.
Instant panic would set in. Now, because they are such a close-knit family unit, and so I'm talking extended family as well, Ed's family in particular are very, very close.
Yeah.
And so family were notified pretty much straight away as well. So there were actually quite a lot of people who came onto the scene very early on. Now, again, these are people who had nothing but the best intentions. They wanted to help the family, be there to support the family, but it was a crime scene and it did impede on certain things happening quickly, and because the police are trying to figure out who's here, what's going on, and set up and establish some boundaries within the house, and and then discovering the window that happened when there were other people still in the house.
No, they saw that when they saw that morning when they were looking for her. They saw that.
Right.
That was what triggered them to call the police.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. No, they did know. I don't think they knew about the chair on the other side.
Right.
But internally, they saw that from inside. Then.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the police straight away do get onto things, and they get a bloodhound to come very, very quickly as well, because they want to be able to track Elizabeth's scent. And what the bloodhound does, apparently they really value this bloodhound's work. He's amazing, this dog, apparently.
Yeah.
And he's able to track, so back up behind their house at the time, it's very different now because it's all very developed now, but it was just basically a mountain.
They literally backed onto a mountain. It was incredible.
And so the bloodhound tracked her, Elizabeth's scent, over the back fence and up through to where there was a road or a clearing where cars would drive. I don't know that it was a road. I think it was more a dirt track.
Yeah, yeah.
And at that point, the dog loses the scent. So the police assume at that point that she's either been taken in a car from that area, or something like that's happened. They also then, the dog does pick up Elizabeth's scent from where they were running around that running track the night before.
Yeah.
But obviously they were able to sort of explain that away and figure out why her scent was there.
The one towards the hill was the more accurate one of the path that evening. Yeah.
So because they think that Elizabeth's been placed into a car, the FBI become involved.
Yeah.
Now, I heard something on a podcast I was listening to about this where they said when a child is abducted and they get in a car, you've got to assume they're traveling about a mile a minute. Mm-hmm. And so with that, the police are like, okay, well, it's very likely then, because Salt Lake City is actually really close to, I think it's Wyoming and, what's the other state? But not far, like by car, less than an hour away to Illinois, I think it is, to two different states. So the police are the FBI are called in because the police are like, very likely she's been taken across state lines.
Yeah.
Now, when the FBI get involved, obviously they do all of the things that they need to do. But there's a police officer in Salt Lake City who kind of takes it more upon himself to then look more locally and to really focus his energy on seeing what's actually happened close to home.
Yes.
And with that, they get helicopters, they're heat-seeking radars.
Yeah.
They get aeroplanes in the air. Apparently by this stage, so this is now into the early hours of the morning. I think this was about 4 hours after she was reported missing. Word started to get around and there were people, this community of people who had ATVs who, I think there were like 55 of them in the end.
Wow.
Yep. Who convened and were going along these mountain tracks to try and call out for her, see if they can find her. Now, Elizabeth reports that on that first day, she heard people calling out her name in the woods.
Yeah.
She was threatened with a knife to her throat to not respond and that if anyone came into the camp that they would be killed.
Yes.
So she couldn't draw any attention to the fact that she was there because then she'd be responsible for the death of whoever came looking for her.
Yeah. They haven't worked out whose voice it was calling out to her, but they're fairly convinced it was her uncle.
Yeah.
Which is just, oh God, can you imagine you were that close to finding her? And I mean, oh God.
She says that the voice seemed far away, but if she could hear him, then he could have heard her.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so close.
But terrifying. I mean,
absolutely so
in all
close.
of this, so far even in this of like the moments of like her sister and her in the house or at that moment where you could call out to someone, but I can completely understand why you wouldn't, because that fear of what that person could do with that knife within a millisecond is absolutely enough to make sure that, you're safer to not have called out, so completely understand that.
If an adult with a knife says to you, don't do something, you don't do something.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so hard to know, like in these moments of like, what ifs of like if she had of either way, what would have happened.
So many what ifs.
So many what ifs with this, absolutely. But in that particular moment, I always take myself back to the thought of like, I think she did the right thing. I absolutely will back her. That little girl was amazing.
Oh, she's
amazing in this whole story.
Yeah.
But in that little moment to not have screamed or whatever in protection of her sister and the rest of her family, your instincts would kick into me to think that you would scream. But she had the forethought to go, no, don't. And I really think it was the right decision at the time, in all of this, because I think the outcome could have been way worse.
I think it would have changed the outcome.
Definitely.
I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah. Maybe not for the better. Like,
yeah, that's exactly right. Oh, it's just absolutely. You can't imagine as an adult going through that, let alone as a 9-year-old little girl.
And this is the thing. So obviously we get to this point in there, like, so the police have got to start thinking out who could do this. And one of, so obviously you've got to start internally first, that who would want to do this, that could it be someone who's known to Elizabeth? Mm-hmm. So the family are coming out to the media and like obviously putting out pleas to the community, to look for Elizabeth. So I guess on that perspective, they're doing all the right things that, no one's like glaringly obviously that's the person who's done this because they're hiding away or have disappeared. There's no one glaringly obvious to that point. But they do look at obviously her father, did he is this a cover-up of a murder and all those sorts of things. They were able to clear him relatively. It took days, but they did do that.
He ended up, I believe it was, so Elizabeth was kidnapped at, say, he found out at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
I believe by that night at about 9 p.m, his father actually, so Ed's father, took him to hospital because he was beside himself.
Yes.
And had him committed.
Yep.
On a 24-hour hold or something like that because he was not coping.
No.
So that did delay the police being able to fully interview him. Obviously, they'd done their preliminary chats with members of the family during that day, but in the immediate instance, they were actually more worried about finding Elizabeth because the more time that goes past, the further she's potentially gone.
Yes.
So, and also the other horrific statistic is that in most kidnapping cases, people are killed within the first 3 hours after being kidnapped.
Yeah.
So they obviously had that on their mind as well. There was an absolute sense of urgency. When, the day had unfolded and still everyone's looking for Elizabeth, obviously then they're like, right, we need to start from the middle and start from the centre, work our way out.
Yeah.
Who's the first person? Of course it's Ed. Of course it has to be. It has to be her dad. And then her uncles, and then, going out from there.
But I found it really interesting, like when they looked at, because they actually ended up doing like polygraphs on the uncles, and one of them in particular failed it. Now, this is Tom. Her uncle.
Oh my God. Everyone's got an uncle like Tom.
Yeah. So when I saw it on the documentary, what he said to the media, I looked at that and went, I know he's not the perpetrator of this. We know that now. But at the time, holy fuck, he was guilty as shit.
You look at him and you're like, because he says something like, he's like, everyone's got their secrets. Yes. Everyone's got their issues.
I don't think this person's a bad person. Everyone just really loves Elizabeth because, she's so beautiful.
Yes.
And it was so many things that you were like, dude.
Apparently at the end of that interview, his wife said to him, you fucked the family.
Yeah. And yes, he did.
And yeah, he did. Because it made them look guilty as fuck. And the problem with that was, at the time, they needed the community. They needed the search parties.
They need to be looking elsewhere.
That's it. And what that interview did was it really dwindled the number of people who were like
we don't feel guilty. We don't feel like we need to support this family almost because here we go, we've got him. Like, it's him.
What a fucking idiot.
But the thing is, I really understand where he came from when he explained it, right? Yeah. And I feel for him desperately now. Now I feel like I need to take my little judgy hat off of like a couple of different cases as well. Like, and he explained how he had not slept in days at that point. So then taking a polygraph at that point, he loved Elizabeth. He was his niece, who's so special to him, which, we can all, I'm sure, have got nieces and children that we love as our own, that aren't necessarily our own child, kind of thing, that you like feeling for everyone and yourself and your love for that child. How desperate would you feel and how exhausted you would be with no sleep worrying about all of this? He was not in a good way when they polygraphed him, let alone speaking to the media. And when you see him now, and you go, right, you can string a sentence together that is not an absolute shit show, you kind of go, that is not who you are at the core. But so he's just spoken off the cuff and really fucked it.
The thing is, though, I think as well that members of Salt Lake City community thought as well, because he was actually very active in the church and very well known in the church. So he worked for the Latter-day Saints newspaper. He was a reporter. He was really well known. He was on TV. He was, he was in everything. He wrote opinion pieces about things. He was really well regarded. He actually was very well regarded by the community.
Yes.
And so
there was an expectation of what he could do in front of the media. And boom.
I think that's almost why the family almost chose him to be a bit of a spokesperson, because he was the one
used to it.
And he was the one who fronted the media a lot.
Yeah.
He got a lot of stories out about Elizabeth. He's the one who really, he gave all the photos to people he knew so that they'd be published everywhere and on the news that night and all of that stuff. Like, he did a lot of positive things.
Yes.
And then this one interview just completely undid all of it.
Oh, God.
And also, you watch it and you're like, just shut the fuck up.
Oh, I know.
Just shut up. Stop talking.
Oh.
Stop.
Absolutely. Anyway, can you imagine his wife at the time? Like going, what the hell is he saying?
Shush. The other Uncle Dave, I think his name is
John? Dave.
I think there is a John and a Dave.
Well?
So because I think Ed had 3 brothers.
They're Mormon families. There's lots
big
of
families.
siblings.
Well, actually, just speaking of big families, about a week before Elizabeth disappeared, Lois's father had passed away and they'd had his funeral.
Yes. Well, yeah, that's why she burnt the dinner.
That's right.
Yeah.
And and apparently the grandfather, so Elizabeth's grandfather, Lois's father, had 51 grandchildren. And I'm not talking great-grandchildren, just first grandchildren.
Wow, that's a lot of grandkids.
So that just goes to show how many kids he had and how many kids they had.
Whoa. How do you even keep track of that as a grandparent?
You couldn't.
No.
Now,
you're not buying each one of them a Christmas gift?
Oh, God, no. You'd have to do KK for sure. Elizabeth and her sister Mary Katherine were prolific harp players. They played the harp, the beautiful, absolutely amazing, gorgeous. And they actually played at their grandfather's funeral like the day before, and played his favourite song, which was apparently Silent Night.
Aww.
Now, I think, again, this sort of plays into the type of person that Elizabeth was. She was very dedicated to her music and very dedicated to her faith. And being able to do that for a grandfather, I think, was a really big thing.
Absolutely.
So we're still searching. We're still trying to find some suspects.
The next suspect that they look at then is Ricci, yeah?
Ricci.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let's get to Ricci.
So he is an interesting character.
Richard
Ricci. The reason he gets looked at is because they basically look at all these contractors that have been through the house over that period, this sort of recent period of time. And I believe there was like 60 on their list of people they needed to look at.
There were. So this was not only contractors and people who'd been through the house to view it, but this was also other people that Elizabeth had known interactions with.
Yes.
So there were a few people from the harp school she attended. She was also a member of some community club, so there were men that were being investigated from that respect as well, because very early on the police determined that there was likely a sexual motive to this crime.
And also someone that knew the layout of the house.
Yes.
Because of the fact that they knew to move through the kitchen and where her bedroom would be and to move out through that.
They do say that they don't know how long the perpetrator had been in the house for.
Yes.
So it's possible that they happened to stumble upon, Elizabeth's room. They do believe it was targeted. So they're sort of gathering a picture of what they think they're looking for at this point.
Absolutely. So they have this list and they narrow it down of basically looking first at those people who have got prior convictions.
Yep.
And so a person that really comes to the forefront of that is Richard Ricci. Now, the reason that being is that he does have prior convictions. And when they do go and have a chat with him, they do find in his possession some jewellery that belonged to Lois. So they immediately are able to arrest him because of that alone and bring him in for questioning further in terms of Elizabeth.
Do you know what he had of Lois's?
What was the jewellery?
He had jewellery, which,
yes.
Okay, I don't know specifically what jewellery, but he'd also stolen her golf clubs.
Oh, wow. God.
I'm like, oh, interesting.
Did they not notice that and then report it as stolen? Like what? I never really got that information.
I don't believe so, but there was an issue with payment with him.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. There was a bit of that was one of the other reasons he came to the top of the list was there was a bit of conflict between him and with Ed around payments. So
basically what Ricci alleges is that he'd done however many hours of work. Ed had agreed him to pay X amount and he didn't pay him that full amount or something. And then Ed had actually also offered him a car. They had an old Jeep.
That's right.
That he offered as partial payment. What I sort of gather from all of this is that Ed had a bit of a cash flow problem at this point.
That's what I was, yes.
So he was trying to figure out how to pay him. And so my guess is that the motivation for him stealing that shit was for payment.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's okay.
Anyway, sorry, keep going.
Yeah. So they pull him in for questioning on this, obviously, and it's a pretty intense interview. You can see a lot of it, and they really do go at him, and he stands by he really does. To me, he avoids the questions a little and doesn't answer them directly, which does not do him any favors. He denies having he denies having anything to do with Elizabeth's abduction, but at the same time, he actually never answers that directly. I find it frustrating, the interview, and I think that's why the cop gets so agitated with him as well, that he's really not getting the responses. I think the response he wants is, yeah, I kidnapped her and this is where she is. But he's not even getting a response that's definitive from him. He's basically like, I don't know how to word it, that he just avoids answering directly.
Yeah, he doesn't directly answer any questions.
No.
The police also seize his car, so this white Jeep that had been given to him, and I believe it was only like a week or two before Elizabeth's kidnapping, and it had over 1,000 miles more than what it had on it when Ed had given it to him.
Yes, and he won't explain it.
He won't explain it. The police are like, where have you been? What's 1,000 miles away? In which direction did you drive these 500 miles?
Because of course the police are putting together with that, going, okay, where's he taken Elizabeth?
Where's he dumped her body?
Yeah,
that's what they're thinking.
Exactly, which is fair.
But he doesn't give them anything.
No, which if he had just said, oh look, I've got a girlfriend in Wyoming,
Idaho,
I've driven, I've driven there and driven there 3 times in the last 4 days.
Yeah.
Would have solved the problem,
Yeah,
kind of thing. But he wouldn't answer it, and that's where it became an issue.
Yeah.
But the weird thing with this one is that they put him in a holding cell or in jail because he is arrested for the jewelry and for the golf clubs. So he is in jail. Whilst there, though, he unfortunately suffers a heart attack, brain aneurysm. And, it's awful because he experiences that and they rush him to hospital. The cops are like, we don't have any answers yet from this guy. We haven't cleared him. We need to keep him alive.
Just before this, though, they did administer a polygraph to him.
Yes.
And he did not pass the polygraph.
Yeah.
Now, there were certain questions that, yes, but it wasn't because he failed by it showing that he was being deceptive. It failed because he didn't fucking answer the questions.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that was, if he just directly answered, maybe he'd have a little bit more of an answer at that point.
For sure.
But no. So he gets rushed to hospital. The cops are definitely like going, we need to keep him alive, do whatever you can, keep him alive. We need answers from this guy. But unfortunately, he passes away. So the police at this point are like, holy shit, like this is the worst thing could happen because we don't know anything about Elizabeth. They're still assuming in some ways that he is the perpetrator.
They said somewhere in an interview I heard with one of the cops that he said, we were 99.9% sure this was our guy.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh.
To then go, holy shit. And
he's dead.
The thought, I guess at this point they're thinking, like, one, it'd be great, if he's killed her, we don't know where her body is. Mm-hmm. But what if she's somewhere now, alive, and we can't even find her and get to her, and the one person who has that information is dead?
Yeah.
So this is not good.
Yeah.
But it turns out it wasn't him. Now, the whole time we're looking at Ricci that we go back to is Mary Katherine, who, this little amazing 9-year-old, she heard this person's voice speaking to Elizabeth that night, and she knew that voice.
She also did see a silhouette of him.
Saw the shape of the person, and she knew that she knew the voice but couldn't put a name to it. And so
I find it so amazing that in that first, so she's interviewed so many times by the police.
Yeah, but she's kept away from media and stuff, which I think is really great. They did a great job with that.
Definitely. And in the interview, the first interview that she does, and for every subsequent interview, but this I think is amazing. They say to her, the police officer interviewing her says, did you recognize the voice? And immediately she says, yes. But I don't know where from. And you just think to yourself, oh my God, she's 9. And look, I think this is such an important lesson from this case is to not dismiss the word of a 9-year-old.
Nope.
And I think in a lot of ways, certain things and certain aspects of Mary Katherine's story were explained away and dismissed because she's 9.
With Ricci it was, in that, because she happened to just see a shot of him on the
TV,
news.
Yeah.
Because as I say, they kept her away from majority of the media, but she did one day see him on the TV screen, and she immediately said, it's not him. She was obviously in her brain going, I know that man's voice. I remember him around the house. And that's not the voice I'm hearing. I can't tell you the name of the person who it was, but I know that's not it. But they didn't listen to Elizabeth, and her family backed her.
I was going to say Ed and Lois listened to her,
they
and they really
did.
Believed that Ricci wasn't the perpetrator.
Yeah, which I mean, I can understand why he was so in the limelight for this,
absolutely,
by the cops, and definitely got to clear him and everything. But you do have to take into account what this 9-year-old was saying. She doesn't think it's him, and she was a very reliable witness,
more reliable than a lot of adults.
Absolutely.
Where is Daredevil?
I'm right here. Don't miss the return of Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again.
So what's next?
I feel liberated.
We're gonna take this city back.
Over medicated.
In an all-new season, now streaming only on Disney+.
They're hunting us. It's time we started hunting them.
I can work with that.
This should be tons of fun.
Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again, now streaming only on Disney+.
Yeah. So that was incredibly interesting that she was very confident that with the fact that he had died, not that she was like privy to all these sorts of things, but the fact that he had died, it didn't mean that this case was over and that it was done and dusted for Elizabeth. I love that, her dad and Mary Katherine always and have said that at the time they were always like, I just know she is still alive. And I know you'd have that in your heart if you're looking for your child anyway, but you have to use that to keep yourself going.
Ed says it was an instinct for him, like he just knew.
Yeah, but I think I don't know, as a parent you'd want to keep that hope there.
Of course.
And but I'm so glad they listened as a family, if not, as well as the police. But
the family literally never gave up.
No.
Never gave up.
Amazing.
A couple of just other things of note when Mary Katherine was interviewed, she described that the man also had a small black gun as well as the knife, and that he was carrying a duffel bag, like a tan-coloured duffel bag over his shoulder. And these elements were never really released to the media. They were things that only, that were sort of kept to themselves. She also described that there was like a metallic kind of sound, and what the police think that was possibly when Elizabeth and the perpetrator were climbing back out the window. The chair that was next to the house that sort of allowed him to climb in and then potentially climb out if they ended up going out that way, which I believe they did, was metallic, and they think that was the sound of the chair hitting the house again.
Yeah.
So she remembered some really pertinent information
for sure. So I guess now we get to a point where we're getting months into this where she's disappeared. It's crazy. So should we go to sort of what's going on for Elizabeth at this point before we, or do we want to talk about
I think that's
who
a
the
good idea.
perpetrator is?
No, I think that's a really good idea.
So poor Elizabeth. I mean, so this night where she's taken, and where we thought the police were kind of assumed where a car had arrived and she had disappeared in a car. In actual fact, they hadn't. They had headed, her and her abductor had continued up that mountain. Now, he had taken her to where he had a campsite where him and his wife lived. And the whole time as they're going up this mountain towards there, poor Elizabeth is being told, like by this guy, that my wife is waiting for us at this campsite. In Elizabeth's mind, she was like, oh, thank God. Like, there's a woman there. Yeah. That means I might be safe. This might be, just some people who have always wanted a child and they've taken me to be their child, and I might be able to, work this situation out. I think as a 14-year-old, she had a little bit enough of, image of her mind of what, people can do that is bad, that I think she was thinking positively about how bad this could be.
Yeah, she did say to him apparently, are you going to rape me and kill me? And he's like, not yet.
Not yet. Oh, I guess, and then she's thinking, this woman there might be able to protect me then, which is fucking awful.
Fucking awful.
Now, she has realised as she's heading up this mountain that she recognises this person. So the cops are onto the right kind of train of thought in terms of contractors and things that have been throughout the house, because she does recognise him. But so they're walking up this mountain, they get to the campsite, and there's the woman who she thinks is going to be her help. No. So they immediately take her into this tent. There's like tarps out on the ground, etc., in this tent that she gets taken into, and the woman starts cleaning her feet and doing all these sorts of things there. And she's dressed in like these robes, quite unusual. And then she wants to strip off Elizabeth, and Elizabeth refuses. But she threatens her and says, if you don't do that, I'm going to have Emmanuel, as she calls him, come in and strip you himself, which she's terrified of. Of course, Elizabeth's feeling like just absolutely terrified at this moment. So she does. She undresses and they bathe her. She bathes her and gets her into these same sort of robes. And then this Emmanuel comes into the tent and speaks to his wife, who he calls Hepzibah. And he performs this odd ritual that he calls making Elizabeth his wife, of which she protests that because she's like, I'm only 14. You can't do that. And she says to him, I'm in my faith. I need to stay a virgin until I'm married and all these sorts of things. But he finishes the ceremony that she is now his wife, and he says, and now we will consummate the marriage.
This bit I find really sad when Elizabeth, I mean, the whole thing's
fucked. Yeah.
But when in that documentary that just came out this year, Elizabeth said, I didn't know a lot about life, and so she thought that if she rolled onto her stomach that she wouldn't be able to be raped. She's like, I learnt that night that could still happen. I think that in itself says a lot about the brutality of all of this. He didn't care.
No.
He was going to do what he wanted to do.
And he did many, many, many times.
He raped her every day.
Like up to 4 times a day.
There was a sex schedule. So Hepzibah, who was his wife as well, was on the night shift, and Elizabeth was on the day shift, and he would rape them, or at least Elizabeth, whenever he wanted. Whenever
the schedule came about because Hepzibah vocalised that she felt like Emmanuel was giving too much attention to Elizabeth and wasn't getting enough herself. So then he put them on the schedule.
Jesus Christ.
Which is just fucked up.
It's so fucked up.
So this...
Emmanuel believed that he was a prophet. He wrote the book of Emmanuel David Isaiah.
A 27-page manuscript. Manifesto.
Manifesto, essentially. He tells Elizabeth that God commanded him to take her as his wife.
And that he needed to take 7 wives for him to become the future Jesus, basically, like the reincarnation of Jesus.
He also says that Mary Katherine will become one of his wives and also Elizabeth's cousin. Now, that was a couple of months after Elizabeth was kidnapped. He attempted to take Elizabeth's cousin, and the exact same MO. There was a garden chair that was put up against the kitchen window, but thankfully Elizabeth's auntie, so this girl's mum, so she was 18 years of age, the cousin, was able to disturb the perpetrator and scared him off, and nothing kind of ever came of that. They weren't able to get any real extra description. They don't know where he went. They
actually dismissed it a bit as being something that maybe someone had like done a copycat.
That's right.
And the thing was the fact of the window and the chair, the way it was put up against the wall to get in, none of that information had been released to the public. No. However, the police sort of did, with this second one kind of go, someone's...
Because they pinned it on Ricci. They thought it was him, and it couldn't have been him because he was actually in jail at the time.
He wasn't dead yet, but he was in jail at the time. Yeah.
So, that's... It didn't fit their story, so they just kind of dismissed it.
Yeah.
They really did.
I agree. I think in there were good cops in this who were really gung-ho on it.
For sure.
But in a general sense, they didn't do all the things they needed to. And I think there were certain cops who agreed with that kind of sentiment and wanted things to be done slightly differently, but it wasn't. Yeah.
Well, up in the camp, Elizabeth was drugged and forced to wear a veil. So they actually... I watched a YouTube video where Elizabeth and her older brother and his wife, they did the hike from where they were up to where Elizabeth was held. Now, it was grueling.
Yeah.
Absolutely grueling. There wasn't really a path, so they're literally hiking through really dense mountainous terrain with lots of trees and shrubs. And so to walk up and down that mountain was really, really hard work.
Yeah.
add to that the fact that they starved Elizabeth, they withheld water. She was obviously very frail, but so Emmanuel would actually go down to Salt Lake, beg for money, beg for food.
He would plunder, what he would call, like go out and get supplies, I guess, but minimal for Hepzibah and for Augustine, as they called her, for Elizabeth. But so he would go down and do that and bring it back, but not that he would bring back the greatest of things or much.
Well, I think he brought back a lot of processed food. There was very rarely any fresh food.
A lot of alcohol. Yeah. So poor Elizabeth would be forced to drink alcohol, and she was kind of, at the time, very young and obviously had not drunk alcohol before, but she would be, because it would kind of numb her a little bit, she almost liked it in that sense that it kind of made it a little bit easier to get through, which I can totally get. But also she would vomit, and she would be left to lay in that. So really unpleasant how she was being treated, and just disgusting, really, entirely.
Emmanuel got more brazen over time and would then start to take Elizabeth and Hepzibah down.
Yeah, well, Hepzibah kind of got, I think, itchy feet, sort of being stuck up in the mountain, kind of going, I want to be a part of like these, what's going on down in Salt Lake City, etc., and be a bit more human, I guess. So, yeah, he eventually caved and said, fine, you can come with me.
And on one particular outing down there, they were in a library, I think, and a police officer actually approached them. Now, they would have looked weird because the women were in robes and veils with face covering, so all you could see were their eyes.
Yeah.
And this police officer approached Emmanuel, who didn't have a face covering. He wore robes as well.
Before that, someone in the library had actually called the police because they believed that this person was like, that's Elizabeth, because even though she had this robe on that covered her face, she has quite distinctive eyes, and the colouring of her eyes and things like that.
She's got blue-grey eyes.
Yeah, they are, and they're quite distinctive. So somebody did call the police saying, I believe this could be ElizabethSmart, because this is massive in Salt Lake City, this information of this girl who's gone missing.
Yeah, there's billboards. It's on every newspaper still. Like,
absolutely,
it was really
really widespread. So this person calls, the cops rock up so they're actually like arriving to be like, we need to check this person out. We believe we've got indications that this could be ElizabethSmart. The cop specifically says, are you ElizabethSmart, to Elizabeth? To which she
didn't respond.
She was unable to respond. I mean, she's paralyzed by the manipulation of Emmanuel entirely. It's awful. And so she doesn't feel the confidence to be able to speak up at this moment. Emmanuel had actually gone to the bathroom. They approached them whilst it was just Hepzibah and Elizabeth at first. But as they started asking her this question, Emmanuel came over and intervened as well. And he did stop immediately and say, you can't lift her veil, because they did ask if they could see her face. You can't do that. It's against our religion. Which I just find that as well, it's such a convenient in this moment, using that as his ploy to not give someone access to who she was. And I mean, God, I have such respect for people who want to cover their faces in religion, but this was kind of like, I don't know, there's got to be some way of being able to.
I think, if you think of other religions that have face coverings, there's ways that if you needed to identify those people, you could. And when I say that, like another female, they could have taken her to a private place where no one else was around.
Yeah.
Have a female police officer lift her veil.
Yeah.
There's a respectful way to do that.
Yes.
I don't know, but it was just not. It was basically like they went, oh, okay, well, we can't lift her veil, so it's not her. Because the police officer who was there does say, I assume that if it was Elizabeth, she'd be like, yes, it's me, please help me.
Yes, but PTSD, etc. does not it doesn't work like that. Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And she said, Elizabeth says now, she said, unless I was 100% sure I was going to be able to get out of there safely, I wasn't going to do it.
What if they, she lifted her veil and they went, oh, no, I don't think it is you, and send her away? Because she knew the consequences then of like what
she would have been,
could have occurred.
My God. She probably would have been killed.
Yeah, so that playing in the back of her mind going, if you don't then take me away from this man, I am fucked. Like, it's awful, the actual manipulation and the threat over her as to why she wouldn't do that. I can fully grasp, but it's such a missed moment, unfortunately.
It really scared the shit out of Emmanuel though.
Yeah.
And he decided that God wanted him to move them.
Yeah.
He begged begged for enough money to get 3 bus tickets to San Diego. They decided to go. And Elizabeth, I mean, I remember from watching Oprah when I was homesick at school, when I was at school, don't ever let somebody move you. You know, if you're kidnapped, try and stay in the one spot because that's your best hope of being found.
And Elizabeth knew that too. She was like, at least
instinctively she knew that.
Well, they were this. I mean, the library incident isn't the only exposure she had. There were other places that he'd taken her where, in hindsight, people were like, "Oh my God, it was ElizabethSmart."
Well, there's that photo when he took them to a bar,
a bar or a party of some sort, wasn't it?
And somebody just took a photo, and it's literally Elizabeth in the foreground, and you can tell it's her.
Yeah.
But nobody recognised that in the moment. And what Elizabeth says is, she could see when she would go out that there's a billboard with her face on it. There's
she knew people were looking for her.
Face on it. She knew in Salt Lake City people were looking for her.
Although we should, I guess, mention too, something that for her that was really hard was that in the Mormon teachings, if you've had sex before marriage, you have no worth. You know that there are consequences divinely, kind of in terms of their religion. So she was questioning whether or not her family would want her back because of the fact of what had happened to her. She had no differentiation between premarital sex and rape. Like, she was, in her mind, she had never been taught the difference and therefore hadn't had an understanding that, well, I have had sex, so they will disown me now, which we can get into as we get to the end of this, of like the consequences of all that. But that is also a layer of all this manipulation with her, that she is feeling, do they even want me back? Do I even speak up? Do I, okay, people are looking for me, but do they want me?
Do they, because they don't know what's happened.
What happens to me if they do find out what's happened?
Yeah.
Which is awful.
I mean, she was 14. I can kind of, understand that.
Yeah. But there was a guy at a party of the pub that same night we were talking about, that he remembers now the conversation he had with her. He believed that she was like 18 or something and with this weird ass bloke, right? And so he actually sidled up to her and said, hey, you should get away from this guy. And she didn't really respond or anything, but he remembers kind of just trying to stand up for her a little bit and knowing that she was in this controlling relationship. But all he saw it as is she looked older than 14 with a weird ass dude. Like,
yeah.
Oh, it's so hard.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
That guy was quite funny because he's like, I'm pretty sure they were at a bar and he's like, oh, look, we're at a weird bar. People wear weird shit. It wasn't that unusual that someone would come wearing something like that. So that's not necessarily the thing, but it was after he'd had a conversation with Emmanuel, he's like, oh, I need to tell these women to get away from this prick. You know, it was just so awful.
Yeah.
But obviously Elizabeth was so worried or scared of doing anything wrong. She just did not speak.
No.
So basically they've moved to San Diego. They were there for about a month, I think it was, and Elizabeth's like, I need to get back to Salt Lake City. Like,
I'm not going to get recognised here.
I'm not going to get recognised here. So with that, she was able to manipulate Emmanuel, and she said, I feel God talking to me, and he's telling me I think we need to go back to Salt Lake. And apparently, thankfully, Emmanuel's like, oh, finally, God is talking to you. God is letting you in.
Yeah.
So, and yes, no, I think you're right. We do need to go back to Salt Lake. So with that, they make their way back to that camp.
But
and
unbeknownst to him, back in Salt Lake, things are shifting.
Yep.
So they're on to who he might be.
That's right. So in amongst all of this, so we're kind of now back from the family's point of view.
Yes.
Mary Katherine is one night reading a Guinness World Records book, and apparently she was looking at some female bodybuilders or something like that, and not that necessarily is what prompted her, but
something just triggered her.
And she's like, oh, it's Emmanuel.
She knew the name.
It just came to her.
Yeah, that's who the voice is.
That's who the voice is. And with that, she's told Ed and Lois.
Yep.
And they have gone, of course, they've gone straight to the police.
Because they knew this Emmanuel, that's all they knew him as well.
That's it. They knew nothing
They
else
knew
about
that
him.
they had an Emmanuel, a contractor again, like working at the house. And what Elizabeth remembers this as well as Mary Katherine, that they were in Salt Lake City one day with their mother, and there was a homeless man who they were talking to, and her mum, Lois, had offered for him to get in touch with Ed to potentially have some work at the house. As we said, this is what would happen. And they needed some trees chopped down. So he had reached out to Ed and they'd organised this, and he did do some work at the house. So Mary, Katherine and Elizabeth hadn't had massive interactions with him.
He literally worked at the house for one day for like 8 hours.
That was all. So it was the interaction of in the city where they'd met him there with mum, and then the day at the house, and that's it. But yeah, this Emmanuel meant something to them, like as in like they the name. They were like, oh, okay, we know who you mean, but we all just don't really like. He didn't have that much of interactions with us, but okay, let's follow this. She did a sketch. Sat with a sketch artist, and they did a drawing
Lois
of him.
did as well.
Yeah, so they all were like, right, we know who that is, but Emmanuel, it wasn't even his real name.
No.
So they actually, unfortunately, at this point, I think personally, the police were though, we're not going to release this sketch to the public, and I can understand from the perspective of if Elizabeth is still alive, and we put this sketch out, and this guy gets scared. Maybe he does then kill her.
Yep.
And gets rid of the evidence of like what he's done. So I understand that. But at this point, how long this has been going on for?
It's months and months and months and months.
Why don't you just put that sketch out? I don't know.
And they don't. They hold on to it for another couple of months, at which point Ed said he was just so frustrated.
Oh, yeah.
And he actually used Tom's connections within the media to get that photo to America's Most Wanted.
Yep.
And onto that TV show, and they did. And the
cops were shitty at.
The cops were shitty at the time, but they now say, thank God he did that.
Yeah.
Because that show aired that week, and Emmanuel's sister, well, actually her his brother-in-law.
Brother-in-law, yeah.
Was like, oh, your brother is just on, like, there's a sketch that looks a lot like him on America's Most Wanted. And they knew he had a lot of issues.
They knew he was a weird guy.
And that he was in and around Salt Lake City, even though they lived over the other side of the country, I think.
Yeah.
And so anyway, they got in contact with the Salt Lake City police, and they're like, we think we know who that sketch is. And they say that it is her brother named Brian David Mitchell, saying that, this is her brother. She looks a lot like her brother. The last time she saw him, he was clean shaven, but something about the eyes and the nose definitely looked like him. So they now have a name.
Yep.
And they start to look into things. They don't find a lot.
No.
They know he's had some issues in the past with the law.
Mm-hmm.
They know that he's got some mental health issues.
Oh. Well, does he?
Well, does he? Well, no, I think he'd been arrested before.
He'd been cleared as having any mental health.
He'd been cleared, had he? Okay. So they've got another suspect, essentially.
Yeah.
For the first time, really, they've got a solid suspect for the first time, really, since Ricci passed away.
Yes.
So they put out like a bolo, be on the lookout for this particular person. He's been known to walk in and around Salt Lake City. He's known to wear robes and white robes. So they've put this information out into the community as well. Now, they come back from San Diego, as in Elizabeth, Emmanuel, and Hepzibah. Mm-hmm. Come back from San Diego, and they're walking down the street, one of the main streets in Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
And these two people, in fact, I believe there were multiple people who called the police.
Well, the thing was they weren't in robes, sorry. Elizabeth, they put her in this weird-ass wig and glasses and stuff. So she did look, I mean, you can see photos of it.
It was like a grey curly wig and and then a headscarf over the top.
Yeah, and these big glasses. She looked quite unusual. Like it would draw attention, like because it didn't look right at all.
Yeah.
She looked like she was trying to not look like herself. Like
yeah, that's very fair.
Yeah. So they definitely rocked up in this. They were all a little bit in camouflage, like kind of thing. So they didn't look right. But yeah, so the police were called and said people were like, that's that guy from that image, and there's two women with him. This looks sus
sort of
as
out,
and the police do come to visit them as they're getting off this bus, I believe, or around
I think they'd just gotten off the bus.
Yeah, just got off the bus.
Yep.
But again, Elizabeth is terrified and doesn't speak immediately. But she was like, I think that at this point she was getting a bit more confident, but it took a fair bit. The cop did have to do a lot of he separated her from Emmanuel as well and got her in a police car, and she was, it's enough away from him to maybe then give her the confidence to kind of go, if I quietly kind of indicate here who I am, this might be my moment. And she eventually does admit to being ElizabethSmart.
The cop says to her, are you ElizabethSmart? And she says to him, if thou sayest.
Yes.
So she doesn't even give him a really direct... She's still kind of almost in character.
Yeah.
Because...
Well, that's how she's been for 9 months.
Conditioned.
She was conditioned to do that.
Yes.
9 months this is insane.
I think it was exactly 9 months to the day that from when she was kidnapped to when she was found.
Crazy.
Apparently the police then put her in the back of their police car and she just broke down and she was in tears. Ed and Lois are notified to meet the police. They basically rang him and said, don't stop, don't go anywhere, come directly to the police station. And with that, I actually found this really sad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but the police have her in a room on her own waiting for her mum and dad to come. Do you think that's bizarre? She's just been through this traumatic 9 months.
Yep.
And then you can tell she's really unsure because Ed comes into the room. Lois must have been elsewhere. She wasn't there. Ed comes into the room and he's like, Elizabeth?
Is that really you?
Is that really you? And she's like, yes, Dad.
Oh, my God. Oh. I know. I watched that. That was the first time I've seen that in that documentary. You can see the footage of it. And it's like, I literally broke down because it's just, oh, my God. Can you imagine after 9 months? I mean.
You wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe it.
No. Nah.
Even Elizabeth's obviously so extremely traumatized that she's still not.
No.
I don't know.
Yeah.
She's not able to process probably what's actually happening to her.
But the credit of that family, she's able to, with a lot of support, obviously, I'm sure over time, but, she is able to come through this, which I really think that her dad and her mum and the love that they had for her and, really helped her through that, obviously, because she had to return to school and to normal life after this, which I just can't even fathom how you do that.
No.
She is amazing.
She went on a Mormon mission.
Yes, to Paris.
A few months after she got back, after she was discovered.
Yeah. I guess that's the only way to do it is to rip the Band-Aid off and just do it.
Can you imagine her mum and dad letting her go off to Paris on her own on a mission?
No, I'm sorry. As a parent, I couldn't actually. No. I actually couldn't.
Same.
As much as I know it would be the right thing for them,
yes.
I'm like, nope, not okay with me.
You're going to have to stay here.
No, I'm sorry, you need to stay within visual. I need to be able to see you at all times.
Tag on you.
Oh, my God. Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah. But she did. She ended up having to come home from the mission in order to give some testimony in pre-trial hearings for Emmanuel.
Because this is what's
and
fucked.
Hepzibah, whose real name is Wanda Barzee.
Yes.
Now, fuck me, fuck them.
Oh my God.
Fuck them.
Should we get into who they are?
Let's get into who they are.
So, Emmanuel. Oh my God. So this guy, Brian David Mitchell, he was born in 1953 and he was the third of 6 children. His parents were Irene Mitchell and Cheryl Mitchell. Now, his father was a alcoholic, all those sorts of things, but also his father thought he was a divine prophet.
Yes, he did.
And that he was also known as being a peeping Tom. And he consumed a high amount of pornography in front of
his children.
Brian. Yep. Now the other person,
it was all of his children.
Yeah, well, I think by the time of 4, Emmanuel, we'll call him Brian Mitchell now. Brian Mitchell was shipped off from his parents to his grandfather. And if you think his dad was bad, where do you think he learned it from? So the grandfather was a paranoid schizophrenic. Now he would bring home random people and have sex with them in front of Brian Mitchell. So he was exposed to this high level of pornography, sexual interaction, everything as a very young child. By the time he was 13, people were really like, he's odd and he's weird. And he was sort of flagged as having some mental health issues at that point. However, by 15, he was arrested for soliciting sexual activity from a 4-year-old neighbour. Like, just next level, holy fuck, this guy is got serious issues. I mean, as we say, you know, like with most of these cases, there's always a start for this issue to become. And yes, there are other people at fault for creating him as who he became, absolutely. But as an adult,
I was going to say there's something at the core of his being, though, that allowed that to happen, because his siblings are not all perpetrators of horrific crimes.
This is it.
So
yeah, but it certainly stuck with him.
Yes.
So he married a woman by the name of Karen first. And he was only a teenager himself at the time when they were very young when they got married, and they had 2 children. Now, he was arrested for assaulting her in 1974, and they divorced in 1975.
Okay.
So that's wife number 1.
Did he go to prison for that?
No. They ended up with the divorce though. So they did not treat those children very well at all.
No.
They were very much a problem having these kids. It kind of stopped them from doing what they wanted to do. Like the pair of them. No, I'm not saying just him. It was both. They were both not great parents at all. But when it came to divorcing her, obviously he wanted to use them as pawns at that point, and he actually kidnapped them for 2 years, which is just insane. But anyway, he did keep those children with him though. I don't know how that came about, because then he married his second wife, Debbie. Debbie also already had, I think, a couple of children.
2, I think. Yeah.
So then that gave them 4, but then they had 2 children together.
Right. Yeah.
Now, to keep that marriage going at one point, he figured that it was his 2 children that were the problem, and he put them out to foster care and got rid of them. It didn't save the marriage. Shock horror. He molested his own children in that marriage.
So his actual biological children he molested. Not
yes.
his I believe
his stepchildren as well.
But his
also
own biological children. Yeah.
Yep. The wife, she found all these photos and things that he had taken of those incidents. So that was her I'm out of here moment, and left that marriage in 1984. At that point sort of in his life is when he sort of officially really gets evaluated for mental health issues. But he was legally found to not be mentally ill at that point.
That honestly blows my mind.
It doesn't to me. To me, that says that what they're saying is that he's coherent in his choices. They're not saying that's right, what he did, that he's not. This is the thing. What mentally ill is and what being coherent and making those choices is 2 different things. Like
I just can't come at the fact that somebody who doesn't have a mental illness would perpetrate these things knowingly and willingly.
But that's where it's a psychopathic thing.
That's right.
Not a mental illness that is like treatable.
Psychopathy is a mental illness.
But it's not treatable, really.
No, it's not treatable.
And that's where I think that's the differentiation between
right,
whether or not this is where whether or not he was able to stand trial for Elizabeth's kidnapping, etc., was like whether or not he was coherent enough to stand trial.
Oh.
And it came down to whether or not he was diagnosed as mentally ill.
Right.
And they were legally saying, no, he is sound of mind enough to stand trial.
Yes. But so two things can be true in that he could have a mental illness and still be fit to stand trial, which that's what I think is the worry
That's
about.
what I'm saying. It's he's not legally mentally ill where he can't be held accountable for his actions.
Completely fair.
There is a difference there in between of like, no, this guy's, the behaviour that he has maybe perpetrated is beyond his control due to mental illness. That's someone who needs different therapy to someone who's been coherent enough to make these choices within their mental illness or whatever.
Absolutely.
That they need to stand trial as any other human would.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's important that in 1983 it was legally found that he is not mentally ill
and
to that degree.
And he's able to
make decisions
coherently
and enough.
Stand trial.
Yes.
Yep.
So, but in this, he's sent to group therapy. And who does he meet in group therapy? I mean, I'm sorry, but you should never meet a partner in group therapy.
No.
Right? So in this group therapy, he meets Wanda Barzee, who in the future becomes Hepzibah. Now, this group therapy, apparently people, when they saw these two together, the words that people would use was that they were disturbingly compatible.
Ew. Oh, no.
Both of them had in the past injured animals. And I don't mean injured, actually I should say just killed. Let's just state
Tortured and killed.
Tortured and killed.
Yep.
So Brian had killed the family dog in growing up. Hepzibah, or Wanda, I should call her now, she murdered the family's pet rabbit and then cooked it up and fed it to the family, which
So
I could only come at a little bit more than the dog in that, yes, you can eat rabbit and people do that. I personally can't. Like, it's just not something.
But that's your pet.
Yeah, it's your pet,
It's
and
like,
that's the thing.
It's like a farmer raising rabbits to be, slaughtered for food.
Yeah.
That's one thing.
Yeah.
It's another thing to
Have a family pet
and cook
Yeah.
the family pet and eat it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So they are just, the two of them should never have met. Let's be honest. I mean, but they did, and they got married. They also she had 6 children prior to meeting him.
Mm-hmm.
One of her daughters has come out publicly and said that Brian did molest her as a child. So he's got full background history of this.
It's repeated.
Repeatedly
in every
occurred.
relationship he had.
Yeah.
He perpetrated, sexually explicit crimes on young girls and boys, I think, too.
Yeah. So, I mean, she came out publicly and said that she'd been molested, and that she believed that both her mum and Mitchell should be permanently in prison. Like, she just does not believe that they should ever get out. So, with the two of them together, this is where the radicalization sort of occurred of the religious side of it. So the two of them became this, he wrote that book of Emmanuel, David Desire. And they would wear these white robes and they would preach these religious messages and just spout.
It was all
rubbish.
shit, like horse shit.
Oh, totally. So, but weirdly enough, like, this is what we get into, like, where there was premeditation of what they were going to do to Elizabeth.
Yes.
Whether it was directly Elizabeth is when that became, I think that was really probably when he saw her when he was in the house.
Same.
But prior to all that, back in sort of earlier in 2001, they were with some friends of theirs, which just blows my mind that they had friends. But they had said to them, well, actually, Wanda had said it to this guy, which Emmanuel Brian had gotten very annoyed with her for telling him this, that they had that God had spoken to them and that another wife was going to come to them or a child was going to come to them named Augustine. Mm-hmm. So she got quite, I think, a beating for that.
Yep.
But yeah, that then led to the kidnapping of Elizabeth.
They then renamed Augustine.
Which is just chilling. But the two of them are just horrendous.
Oh, they're the scum of the earth. And you know what I think is even more disgusting? I'm not a religious person, but when people hide behind religion, I think that is the lowest of the low, because people who believe and people who are of faith, like Elizabeth and the Smart family were, they place a lot of value in that.
Yeah.
And to hide for Emmanuel and Hepzibah, for Wanda and Brian to hide behind that and use that as their motivation to commit these horrific and horrendous acts is the ultimate cowardice.
Totally.
The ultimate cowards act, because they couldn't just go out and blatantly do it. They had to hide behind religion, and I think that's disgusting.
Well, I believe that more so Brian than Wanda, absolutely. Brian used it as just a manipulation tool.
For sure.
It wasn't even something that he truly even believed. I don't think he believed for a second that any of that was real.
I think he saw that his dad used religion in a manipulative way to get what he wanted, and he's just continued that on.
I completely agree with that. I think he's just gone, oh, this is a way that I can get people to do what I want. Mm-hmm. And that I think 2, he understood the LSD church.
Yeah.
And
LDS.
he understood LDS, sorry, LDS, LSD. No, that's maybe something else. He may have been on that too, though.
Quite possibly.
So I think he understood the LDS church and what that created in terms of particularly the young girls in that church, and how much more pliable they might be to manipulation.
Fully agree with
because
that.
they are so innocent. And I mean, God, I'd love a world where we could all be that innocent to believe that, you know, you will just, I mean, I believe girls could want more for this, but in the church, it's, you know, basically that girls would grow up and meet their person that is their love of their life, and they have children and everything is rainbows and sunshine. And I wish that was the world that we lived in, that's what rainbows and sunshines were all about kind of stuff, but it's not. And so you do need to educate children, you know, at appropriate ages about more sinister things, unfortunately, to protect them, you know, at an age-appropriate way, which they're not in the LDS church. They're kept very isolated from the reality of life.
Yeah.
And that I think that played into what Brian could then use over Elizabeth.
Definitely.
And he just blatantly knew that.
Yeah, he knew. I mean, I think a lot of people who know very limited things about the LDS church probably know that. It's you don't have to, you know a lot to know that that's probably the case.
Yeah.
And I mean, even just the wholesome activities they did, like the fact that the girls played the harp and
I know.
all of that sort of stuff. Like they
stunningly gorgeous.
They
but
really were.
Yeah. So experts who had looked at Mitchell and his personality basically decided that he was not psychotic, but in fact he was manipulative and sadistic. Mm-hmm. So he really, this is the thing, he was not mentally ill in that form of like not being coherent in what his decisions making were doing. He was very coherent in all of his decisions and very much in control of what he did and what he did to Elizabeth in all of this.
Yeah. So the trial didn't happen until 2010.
That's insane.
The reason for that is Mitchell spent years, I guess, attempting a mental health defense so that he wouldn't actually then have to be imprisoned or actually have to withstand a trial.
Yeah.
He pretended to be insane so much so he would sing loudly during all of the court hearings and disrupt. So somebody would start talking and he'd be spouting off his gospel or whatever.
Yeah.
It was complete manipulation.
He was pretending that he was insane. He wasn't actually insane.
US Marshals have said, so he was under the care within the court system of the US Marshals, and they say that as soon as the hearing was over, he'd just stop and he'd just walk out and be normal. He wouldn't have these outbursts anywhere else than when it was convenient for him in the courtroom.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the judges kept postponing. There were multiple judges over this time too. I'm not even saying it was one person.
No.
Multiple judges over this time would postpone the hearings until he was determined to be mentally sound enough. He would have all these psychological
So he was detained for this whole time, like we should say, but just no conviction with it.
He would have these psychological assessments. They'd be like, yes, he's fine to stand trial, and then they'd go to do a pre-trial hearing again, and he'd do the same thing.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until 2010 until he was actually put to trial. They basically said, fuck it, you're going to trial. We're not delaying this any further.
That's right.
Elizabeth was 23 years old at the time of the trial, so that just gives you an idea of it was 9 years later.
That's just crazy.
Her testimony really dismantled his insanity defense because she was able to say all of the coherent things, the logical decisions he made while he had her, well, both of them had her.
Yeah.
And she was able to counter everything that the defense had. She was able to give a reason. She was like, and give examples. And
she was so good on the stand.
She was amazing.
She
is so strong.
Yep.
She's such a strong woman.
Yep.
In December of 2010, he was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Thank fuck.
Oh, God, yeah. However, Wanda Barzee, so she was declared mentally incompetent to stand trial in 2004, but was eventually given 15 years in federal prison for her actions. There was a bit that went on there with that. However, she was then released early. So in 2008, she was medicated and things with antipsychotics, but was released out into the public.
Yep.
Now, the family did I can't believe this, that at that time she was actually only she pled guilty, sorry, I should say, in 2010 as well to Olivia Wright's abduction.
Yeah.
So she got a little bit for that. But because she assisted in getting Emmanuel for his case as well, that's where she got a little bit lesser on certain things.
I think she was eventually released for good in 2018.
Yeah, 2018. Yes, sorry, she was. So that the 2010 conviction was the 15 years.
Yeah.
Sorry, so the 4 years she spent from 2004 to 2008 was the incompetence to stand trial and medicated, etc.
Yep.
But then 2010, but it was only for Olivia, who the cousin. It was not for Elizabeth at all.
Right.
So so she got 15 years for that, but which that only turned into 8. Which is just fucked up. It was released and only recently 2 things have come up about her.
Yeah.
So in 2025, in May, she's 79 years of age at the moment, now 80 this year. She was arrested because when she was released, she was actually she's got to be marked as a sexual offender. So with that, she can't go anywhere near parks and things. But she was arrested at home for visiting Liberty Park, Sugar House Park, and one other, I think, in Salt Lake City.
Mm-hmm.
But as a sex offender, she can't be in the presence of children and therefore she can't be in these spaces. Her explanation for being there was that she was commanded by the Lord to visit the parks and feed the ducks. Mm-hmm. I don't believe that for a fucking second, Wanda. But she's free at the moment, but on pre-trial release subject to what goes on there with that. So it'd be interesting to see what happens if she spends any more time. But she should never have been released. No. I honestly think that's just unbelievably gross. Yeah. But it's so inadequate for her actions in this because she did the same as Emmanuel. She did participate as well in the sexual assaults of Elizabeth. She enabled all of his other behaviours as well. She should be held accountable.
She could have at any point gone to someone and said, "Oh my God, this is what my husband's just done."
As the adult in that situation, she could have spoken up to.
Police officer came in the library when Emmanuel was in the toilet.
She could have also turned and said, "Yes, we're both in this situation. We need to get away from him." But no,
she was fully complicit.
Completely. She did divorce him from jail. I think in 2004 that happened. But still, yeah.
So you still did the shit you did.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just awful.
Horrible.
No.
Where's Elizabeth today?
Yes.
So she's a mother of 3. She got married to a really lovely LDS man. She has 3 children. I think she's got 2 daughters and a son.
Yeah.
She's a global child safety advocate and the founder of the ElizabethSmart Foundation. So the ElizabethSmart Foundation includes abuse prevention, education, and also survivor support, child safety legislation. And they actually launched this thing called Smart Defense. Now, this is an online, or you can do it face-to-face, I think, in Salt Lake, but an online self-defense course that basically teaches young girls and young children how to defend yourself against a potential kidnapping or a sexual perpetrator.
Yeah.
The difference between rape and consensual sex.
Yeah, she's an advocate big time for that now in terms of that she felt like she was unprepared in that sense to know.
I found it really interesting. She calls this like the chewed up gum metaphor, and I've seen her, she's spoken about this. I actually think she wrote about this a little bit in her book as well.
Yeah.
She says that she didn't try to escape in public because, and part of it was this religious shame that you were talking about. And she said one of her teachers when she was younger, she went to a youth group.
Yeah.
And this teacher of this youth group said that basically that if you're like a stick of gum, once you're chewed up, nobody's going to want you.
Oh. Fucking hell.
Yep. And if you're clean and in your packet, then somebody's going to want you.
Oh.
And so that was the thing that she thought about when coming back, I guess, you know, the thought of coming back into society. She's like, well, I'm just like a piece of chewed up gum.
Oh, that's so awful.
Yeah, it's horrific.
God.
It's absolutely horrific.
This is the thing. Like, I mean, yeah, you want to shelter kids and stuff from these things, but they need to have an understanding of the difference between what's right and what's wrong in these situations to protect themselves.
Well, that's part of what she wants to do with her advocacy work, and thank goodness she's doing that.
Oh God, she did not do this. There should be no guilt on her, and I think she's now in a place where she knows that.
Yeah,
but every victim should know that.
Yes. The other thing I just wanted to point out was I think how traumatized to this day Mary Katherine is.
Yeah.
I think you watch her on that documentary and you're like, oh my God, this is still so raw for you.
Yeah.
You haven't, this is not your fault.
She saved her sister.
She saved her sister.
She is the epitome in my mind of a hero.
I could not agree with you more, but she doesn't see it that way.
No.
And I look at her and I think, you still look like a little girl, whereas I think Elizabeth has definitely
she's grown into herself.
And she's grown through this experience, whereas I can still see Mary Katherine hasn't.
No.
I feel for her so deeply.
Yeah.
She is an incredible woman. She was an incredible 9-year-old girl.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so sorry that happened to her and that she had to go through all of those things. And I think sometimes she's a forgotten victim in all of this.
Absolutely. And I think that's where, we focus on Elizabeth in this, and as we should as the victim and all these sorts of things. But, I mean, Mary Katherine was a victim as well in that room that night. She experienced trauma, the fact of losing her sister who she idolised, the thought of losing her forever, but she has to focus on the fact that she got her back.
Yeah.
And that's why I said at the beginning of this that, as much as this story has got awful, awful parts of it, and there are awful, awful people in this, at the ultimate end of this is what is the best you can get out of this that could ever happen. And it happened because of Mary Katherine.
Yep.
If she did not remember Emmanuel's name, if she did not, they could have just dropped this with Ricci.
Yeah.
Without her sticking to her truth and going, that's not the voice. I know it was a different voice. It's going to come to me. It's going to come to me.
Yeah.
And she did. She did such an amazing job.
The police almost did do that. They almost did, when Ricci died, it was kind of like, there
goes that.
Basically. And so the fact that she was able to be so sure of it as a 9-year-old.
I do go back to then the parents like Lois and Ed, as much as I'm saying the LDS Church has done them wrong in terms of, their upbringing in some ways. I think the parents were obviously raised their kids so right and backed Mary Katherine as well and supported her to get through this, to stick to her guns and know what she knew was right and didn't just follow the line of the police and dismiss their daughter either. So, and I think that always just comes back to how good of parents they were individually as well.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Lois isn't in the documentary.
No.
Elizabeth said she just wants to leave all of this in the past now.
She has spoken as well and done a lot of public speaking herself.
Yeah.
And she's written a book with Elizabeth about all this and she feels like she's said enough, apparently. So
which is completely fair.
Yeah.
It's completely fair.
Yeah. Ed and Lois aren't together anymore either. They've divorced after 34 years of marriage, and we can go down a whole other track of that of the Mormon Church and what that does for people.
100%.
Which I also all power to Ed, and that he's found who he is as a person.
That's right.
Eventually, and being able to voice that again beyond the church, that he has come out as gay, and as we said, a brilliant father, and always meant to be a father of these children.
Oh, definitely.
No question there. And, but he's finally been able to find a voice to come forward and of who his truth is, because the Mormon Church squashes that in you too, to not be able to be who you are. I think if that's the way that you're genetically made to be, and that's a whole other story, but good on him for coming forward on that. But and there are, again, there's no malice between Lois and Ed and and Elizabeth, all those sorts of things. That they're a family through and through, no matter what. So
that's right.
they are, Ed's very prominent in the documentary that has come out most recently, and as we say, Lois isn't even involved, but it's not because there's any issues in the family.
No,
none at all.
No, that's exactly right. Look, I think in cases like this, if it wasn't for the media attention, it would not have ended the way it did.
Yeah.
We don't know, thankfully, what would have come of it, but Elizabeth does say that she thinks that Emmanuel had it in him to kill her. It was, on knife's edge, so to speak, sometimes as to whether that was going to be the case. So the fact that she survived for those 9 months, she endured the most horrific torture that anyone would ever have to endure. And she still came out of it the other side, and she has grown. She's such a strong human being for it. And thank goodness she was found. Thank goodness he's in prison and we never have to worry about him again.
I love, though, that she met her husband, Matthew Gilmore, in Paris, right? Which, I mean, well, nice. But he met her not knowing who she was that she was ElizabethSmart, who had been kidnapped and returned home after 9 months. So they were able to build a relationship with none of that as being part of who she was, which I think he saw who she was as a strong, amazing woman without knowing all of her background. And so they fell in love before he even knew all of that stuff about her. And that only made him love her more, you know. So I think that's really amazing. So
Agreed.
They're a beautiful family.
They are.
Yeah. I just want the best for her in terms of everything now, because she's come out of this the other side, which is so hard to do. I mean, the abuse that she endured, you could forgive someone for going down the wrong path after that. Oh, God. You know, but she, I think, again, come back to the family. Obviously, there was so much support and love there that she was able to get back on that track and get the life she deserved after all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Gosh.
Another one in the can, Meg.
Oh, yeah. Get that out of my brain now.
I know. Actually, speaking of getting things out of your brain, someone said to me something about one of our old episodes the other day, and I'm like, yeah, no, I don't remember that.
No. I know.
I have to go back and listen to the episode.
I know. I always feel like a weirdo say, you know, I was just listening to our episode from this week, and they were like, what, you listen to yourself, you know? And I'm like, I do, because then I can actually respond to people when they comment on our things, because otherwise it's not in my brain at all.
No,
I'm like,
same.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's it must be the way we cope with this.
Yeah, it's got to be. I mean, because it's all back there, but it's way back there once we leave this.
We push it deep down. Anyway, thank you for joining us for another episode, everyone.
Should we just say next week we are going to be talking about the case of Carly Ryan, which is we're coming back to Australia for this one. So really interesting case.
That's it.
Yeah. Not a hell of a lot of media on that one, but we'll bring it to you next week, and it will be interesting.
Excellent. All right. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Stay curious, crime besties.
Bye.